Hello, coming at you with another video. This is twice in 1 week for me, which is really, really active. But I'm just feeling the vibes, and I've kind of figured out how to streamline my editing and my uploading. So I figured I would do the tarot tag of 54321 tarot, which I believe was started by Kelly Bear. And I've seen it on Catamancy Tarot's channel. I've seen it on Rose Honey Rituals channel. And I just thought I'd contribute. So these are, we're just going to jump right in, 54321. So the first prompt is 5 decks that you're into at the moment. I don't know. 5 decks, any 5 decks you want to choose to show. And these are 5 that I'm just really drawn to at the moment, to just mess with and to enjoy. So I'll kind of start with my number 1 here, which is the Voyager. I have a vintage copy, which I'm really happy about having. I have the second printing from 1986. So this is James Wanless and Ken Knutson. And the vintage copies, you can find them for reasonable prices. The reason I wanted a vintage copy was because I really, really liked the border color on the vintage copies. Some people might not like this. On the current copies, the border is a little bit darker and more like golden yellow, and you can read the titles a little bit more easily. But this is a deck that actually has keywords on it. And actually, I'll zoom in for us here, pop us up. And move us here. Yeah. This has keywords on it as well as the titles, and it's got a lot of imagery. It's a collage deck, which I never thought I would be into collage decks, and I'm more and more into them just, in the past year. And this one I especially said, oh my gosh, I will never want that. It's just not my vibe. And then look at me now. I really like this one. I usually pull it for a card to post at my desk and just look at. Right now I have Man of Cups, the Surfer, up. You can't see off camera. But it's just a really, really neat deck. The guidebook is really, I just have the little white book guidebook, but there's also a larger guidebook that I'm considering getting. But yeah, so this is a deck I'm just really enjoying at the moment for like 1-card pulls. I really like its vibe. It has a really nice energy. I mean, the Man of Cups is called the Surfer. I just really enjoy that. The keywords I think are really nice. Like 8 of Crystals is synthesis. Okay, that makes sense to me. And it adds something. It doesn't confuse, which I appreciate. So yeah, this is one I'm really drawn to at the moment. Let's move on. All of these are very different that I'm about to show. So this is a collage style, obviously. The next one I want to show is a really, really neat Marseille style, Marseille inspired deck. It's called the Midnight deck. And I got it off of Etsy. I believe it was Kickstarted. It's got this amazing production quality on the cards. I mean, the cards are super sturdy, but super flexy. It's just, they're really, really nice, and they're really rounded, which is kind of unusual for Marseille decks. But this is the Midnight deck 2nd edition by Gergely Bagamary, and I'm sure I'm really not doing that name justice. But anyway, it's just got these really gorgeous yellow backs, and then it's sort of a tongue-in-cheek rendition of a Marseille. The faces are really sassy, The eyes are kind of googly and sassy. And the colors are just really, really gorgeous. The cards feel, I mean, just like the haptic experience of this deck is really, really nice. I love that Hangman getting in the way of his own title. And he's got his tongue out. He's great. So if you're into Marseille and you like a fun kind of really harkens to the original Marseille, but it's kind of goofy in its own way, but not too goofy. Look at those googly horse eyes. I just think this is a really, really great. I mean, the blacks are just super rich blacks, and the colors and the lines are really crisp, and you know, the quality of the production is excellent. I really, really like this creator, what he puts out into the world. Love that Temperance card. That peach colored hair. I just think the palette he chose is really nice. And this is just a very nice deck to work with. It shuffles beautifully if you're into riffle shuffling. I do corner shuffling personally, like so, when it works. That's how I shuffle. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful Marseille inspired deck that I enjoy whipping out when I'm looking for that vibe. So that again is the Midnight deck. Really neat. Okay, now another very, very different deck. The Apparition Tarot, a Spirit Speak Tarot deck. I love this deck. Actually, something similar with the just previous deck is sort of the crispness of the color and the brightness of the color in this deck is gorgeous. I love the borders on it that contain the artwork. I love that on some cards there is no border because it's white. It's just kind of a really refreshing deck. The palette is really refreshing. The imagery is really refreshing. There's a lot of white space in here. There's a lot of room to breathe in this deck. And the, the artist's choice of imagery is really kind of thought-provoking. So this is another one that I find myself drawn to. It's bright, but it's calm. It leaves a lot of room to just enjoy it. I wouldn't call it a beginner deck, but I really wouldn't suggest it for a beginner, but I think if you're into tarot and you're looking for something a little different that's going to make you think a little differently and this appeals to you, go for it. It's sort of a hand-drawn art style with sort of colored in with bright marker. And I think it's really, really nice. And I would have told you a year ago I didn't like this deck and that it wasn't for me. And look at me now. So I love this. The Woman of Willendorf or Willendorf. I encountered this woman many times in my art history classes, and she shows up sometimes in life now, and I really enjoy seeing her. She's like an old friend. Yeah, so if you're interested in anything like this, just a really, really cool interpretation of tarot. It feels very intimate. It feels very, it invites you to have a conversation with the symbols. I think it's a really, really cool deck. I love Spirit Speak. I love everything that, I believe her name is Mary Evans, does. And I have many of her decks, and this is just, I think, one of the top, my favorites of hers. So, yeah, it's, I don't know if it's a seasonal vibe because we're in October and the palette feels very spring-like to me, but I don't think that it really sits in a season. I think it's a year-rounder. All right, so I wanted to talk about the Southern Gothic Oracle as well. Very different vibes, again, but I'm drawn to it, especially at this time of year. This is the Southern Gothic Oracle. It has just a bunch of symbolism from the South. This is where I grew up. This is super familiar to me. This is Savannah. This is the Bayou in Houston. This is just a lot of imagery and vibes that feel very homey to me. I've got those, I mean, there's a few of these around my neighborhood right now. I see this all the time, and it's so beautiful and so destructive. You know, this just feels like my culture in a deck. And I really, really like that. So, that's interesting. I thought this said the panther. It says the painter. I'm unbothered. I'm not. That's so funny. The painter. Strength and power. Interesting. I wonder if that's a typo. It doesn't bother me because the strength and power speak to that card, and I don't need that title as much. But yeah, this deck is super like home to me. And I really, really enjoy it. I also have a botanical one, which is a little less moody. I like the moodiness of this one. There's a lot of diversity in the cards. I feel like plants don't give you as much diversity generally, but that's just me and my vibes towards plants. I really love sort of the reminders of the plants of my home, but you know, I don't read plants as like positive or negative or ominous or friendly, you know, or so it doesn't reach me as quickly as the symbolism in this one does. So. All right, and the final deck, the fifth deck, is this little guy that I have. This is my trimmed Stella's Tarot, which is just one of my favorite decks. I'm going to pull it up really high here. It has a lot of red in it. Someone, I think it was Rose Honey Ritual recently, who said that there's not a lot of decks that do red very well. And she was referring to the Cosmic Slumber and the J.K. Waite. And I agree with her, but I think this deck does a really beautiful job with reds. And I took all of the titles and all the borders off, and I love my little mini Stellas. It is like my everyday carry kind of thing. I don't read for others generally. So when I have an everyday carry, it's like, this is for me to like whip out and shuffle through and, you know, refer to during the day. I love that card. How cool is that? I mean, I love With No Borders because they're just like floating in space. I love this moon. I mean, there's just so many cards in here that I just adore. Yeah, so I took the borders off. And I think it's just a cute, cute cutie with a lot to offer. And I have this little baggie for it from Moonlit Fae that just fits it perfectly and makes me really, really happy. There are some gorgeous blues in this deck, and there are some gorgeous reds in this deck, and really cool textures, and just, yeah, I love that devil. I love I don't know, less frightening but more ominous in some way, celestial devil card. he's pretty sweet. I don't know, these guys are so familiar to me now that like they make me, they're like old friends. I kind of made this my deck, and it's very, very special to me and will not be going anywhere. Look, I'm gonna get all the way to the end here. Oh, I love that kitty cat. Gorgeous blues. Just the whole thing I think is gorgeous. And when you chop off the titles, you do kind of start to run into problems with like telling which court cards are which in terms of the queens and the princesses, because this is it has pretty clear knights in here, you know, so it's interesting, but the princesses and the queens get a little fuzzy. So you kind of have to learn the deck, which I really, really liked about it actually, because it made it that much more familiar, right? Sort of that thing where like when you're tested and you get something wrong and then you learn the right answer, you're more likely to remember the right answer because you got it wrong the first time and your brain now soaks it up. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So 4 tarot books. Okay. 4 tarot books. If we wanted variety, we're going to get it. I'm going to zoom out here because these books offer a lot of variety. So I'm going to start with the first, Forest of Souls. This is a vintage copy. It was out of print for a long time. And I read it, I devoured it really quickly. And I got a lot out of this. This is Rachel Pollack. It's really a spiritual walk through the tarot. It connects a lot to her culture and like Jewish mysticism. And I just really appreciate this. There's so many nuggets in here that I took away. I did not mark in it, so like everything is marked with like little strips of highlighter paper and like some like stuff I can take out, because this at the time was a book you could not find very easily. And I just think it's great. And so I'm not sure where I got this quote from, but I thought it was really cool, and maybe it's somewhere in this book, but obviously I really liked it. So remember, despite how open, peaceful, and loving you attempt to be, people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. I just really, really like this book. It is a magical mystery tour. I think that's a really, really good way of describing it. It's a magical book. And I don't know if there's any differences in the new printing of it. But I'm going to get a new printing so that I can like really go through and annotate, because I am an annotator. Let me show you. So I'm reading this right now. It's distracting. So I'm reading this right now. And I just like to mark up my books, even just like literary fiction, which this is. I just really like to mark up my books. So it was hard for me to restrain myself on Forest of Souls. And so I'm going to get a new copy and I'm going to mark it up and keep this vintage copy as well. And we'll see what the differences are. Another one, this is also maybe out of print, an old vintage book. Of course, I found it in really, really great condition. I don't think it's hard to find if you want it and are willing to spend really not terrible amounts of money considering it's an out of print book. But this is Cynthia Giles, The Tarot History, Mystery, and Lore. And there's a second, there's sort of a sequel to this book. It's called The Tarot, Methods Mastery and More, I think is, which is a cute kind of additional title. But if we can look through sort of the so history, mystery, lore, historical tarot, esoteric tarot, makers of the modern tarot, the transformation of tarot. So it really takes you through, where tarot came from. And I believe that this is accurate. This isn't one of the texts that's going to be like, it came from ancient Egypt. They're not trying to make it more mystical than, Cynthia Giles is not. This is historical, with what was known at the time. And this was from 1992. So anyway, this was a pretty accurate history, I think. And then the mystery is like tarot in the occult tradition, tarot in the imagination, tarot as a way of knowing, tarot in the light of science, which I think is really, really interesting, and quantum exercises for tarot readers, and then tarot in the life of the spirit. And I really liked sort of these different perspectives on how tarot has been utilized since it's sort of coming into contemporary life. Yeah, anyway, I highly recommend this. I also haven't marked this one up because it was vintage, but I enjoyed this. So Stuart Kaplan said, a work that genuinely illuminates the tarot. So that's a ringing endorsement. And then Mary Kay Greer also has a note on the back here. So two very well-known tarot folks like that book. Okay, this one I really, really love. And I have both Tarot on Earth by Tom Benjamin and Your Tarot Toolkit, which are both workbooks. They basically take you through lessons and exercises to build your own little white book. Tarot on Earth is focused on the Marseille Tarot, and then Your Tarot Toolkit is based on the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. I just think that the way that Tom Benjamin structured this and leads you through exercises is really, really cool. You come out of this with sort of if you read through it, you're going to understand your cards better. If you do the exercises, you're going to really unlock some new things about the cards. And what I found was that I read through it the first time. I did a couple of the exercises kind of half-assed. I learned stuff, and then I was like, oh, I don't have time. This is so much work to do, and it really is. It's a lot of work to do. But then I sort of got into my Notion database. I have a Notion database about tarot, and I started to work through this some more, and especially if there's a section of the deck that you struggle with. If you struggle with the minors, if you struggle with the court cards, or Your Tarot Toolkit, depending on whether you are doing the Marseille Tarot or the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, this can help you dive into that section of the cards and get to know it better on your own terms. It's not on anybody else's terms. It's not prescriptive. It is what does this mean to you? What does this number combined with this element, combined with this imagery mean to you? So, and then in the context of the question, Tom Benjamin is very big on context, and asking a question, and that it's sort of garbage in, garbage out. If you ask a garbage question, you're going to get a garbage answer, from the tarot. Yeah, anyway, I just really recommend these workbooks for anyone who's sort of wanting to define their own sort of database of meaning for the tarot. And of course it encourages you to go reference your favorite meanings that you found, go reference your favorite form of numerology that you've encountered, and then sort of distill all of these resources and come up with your own little white book, your own meaning library. So I think that's really, really cool. This last one, this is my fourth book I'm going to show, and this is Tarot for Transformation by Andy Matzner. Andy Matzner, I believe, is a therapist, and he's made a few tarot books. Let's see. Doesn't really introduce Andy Matzner in here. But look at all these are all quotes that have to do with tarot. Without whom not, Pixie. So this book is journal based and as such is full of questions and writing prompts for you to reflect on. This is not a book to just sit down and peruse. It's something to interact with. Of course, you can sit down and peruse it. And it essentially takes you through the entire hero's journey and basically offers therapeutic perspectives on each of the major arcana. And so it's just really interesting because I'm sure like you could work through this as like, oh, I'm working through the major arcana, you know, in a therapeutic way. Or you could be like, here's what I'm struggling with. Which of the cards, you know, is really speaking to that struggle? Which of the major arcana? Come in here and see if there's some sort of therapeutic exercises you can do, ways to interact with that card. So I know the Empress, for example, the Lovers. I saw this today and I haven't explored the Lovers in this book yet. But the Lovers is actually about attachment theory. And that's something that I am so interested in because I have a tiny tot. And I also have some stuff I'm working through about my own childhood. And I just think this is like really cool that the Lovers explores sort of attachment theory and the 5 love languages. So anyway, it's sort of a therapist's take on the 22 major arcana. It's very up to date in sort of how it talks about theories of just, you know, psychology theories. And I think it's really a cool thing if you're ready to do that, if you want to explore the tarot in a therapeutic way. Cool. Okay, so that was 4 tarot books. Now, 3 spreads. Y'all, I don't use spreads, but I have a couple of books that I think have influenced how I read tarot. And the spreads I use. So this is the Marseille Tarot Revealed by Yoav Ben-Dov. He did the CBD Marseille Tarot, that's mass market, which is a redrawing of the Conver deck. Conver? Is it Conver? I think. Yeah, Conver Ben-Dov, right? That's why it's called CBD, if I'm not mistaken. Could be. Oh, yep, Conver. Okay, good. And this book, I really like it. And it's sort of this shiny, like magazine paper in here because it's got these like beautiful full color illustrations. So you actually don't have to buy the deck in order to really get what he's talking about with the colors and the positioning and the details of the cards that he gets into. So this is a beautiful, beautiful book. Very well made, but it also meant that like I felt really weird writing in it. So I just used sort of little stickies throughout here. But this book talks a lot about, it used to be titled The Open Reading, like a original printing of this same content was called The Open Reading. And this is the open reading style. That's what he talks about, which is like, how do the human figures and the composition and the arrangements and the numbers and the resemblances between a spread of cards impact meaning. So he's a big fan of the 3-card spread, and how does this card speak to this card, speak to this card. So I really dig that because I think a lot of books do this, right? Where here's the card, here's what it's about, here's an interpretation. And that's useful. And I like seeing different perspectives on that. But I also love seeing, there's a whole, like before you get into the majors in this book, there's a great deal of time spent talking about sort of 2-card and 3-card spreads and 4-card and how they might talk to each other and how they might have meaning. And I think it's very context-based as well. So anyway, yeah, body parts in the cards and what those might mean, and are they covered, are they exposed, are they pointing a certain direction? I just think it's another way to get a lot out of the cards. So I like the open reading. It's not necessarily a spread, but it's a way of reading spreads. So if you do a 3-card spread and you don't have assigned spread meanings, but you have a really good question, then you're going to be able to get a lot out of it by using a method like the open reading. That one was about the Marseille Tarot. Similarly, Robin Place talks about essentially a similar reading style in this work of his, The Tarot, History, Symbolism, and Divination. I dig it. And the 3-card message is what he calls it. And there are 6 patterns for reading a 3-card message. Yeah, it's just really a neat method, and then you can expand on that. And so what I think he argues in here is that if you have a spread with 3 positions, you should really have 3 cards in each of those positions, and then you can read them this way. And it gets it's nice. I think it's really nice. I think it opens up the cards because then you're not just like, I don't know. I think all of these books really open up the cards, right? Like Tom Benjamin's book really leads you to sort of create your own meanings database, right? But it's also about doing sort of tarot math, right? This card plus this card plus this card equals this meaning, plus context, right? Or this card in answer to this question, the number plus the picture plus the image plus the title, plus the suit plus the other correspondences that you can throw into the card answer the question. I just think these are reading methods that open up the cards for people who may have just been using little white books or just using this kind of summary, in order to understand the card and what it means, because that can be very limiting. So these open up how you read the cards. Similarly, actually not similarly at all, differently. This is, I think, another out-of-print book, but I found it. I think you can find it. It's called The Heart of the Tarot, and it's 2-card layout, which is interesting, but it's, I really like it. I think it's a really cool take on sort of a tarot spread definition, because it's basically saying, let me see if there's a sketch in here. Aha! Yes! So this is the Celtic Cross, right? This book focuses on these 2 cards, the heart of the Celtic Cross. Okay, so you, here, and now, and what's crossing you. And I think what they call it is the situation and the challenge. And if you can use this book to become really proficient at reading those 2 cards, the situation and the challenge, then you're already well on your way to effectively reading a Celtic Cross, which is it's one of those spreads that's so ubiquitous, but is also really, really tough, right? It's a huge spread. The idea of reading that many cards, I mean, I very rarely am reading 10 cards at a time. That's a lot. And then if you think about Robin Place and his argument that every spread position should have 3 cards in it, it's like, dang, man, that's 30 cards. So that's a lot of cards. But you could do 3 cards for situation, 3 cards for challenge, and then work on where you want to go from there and what your question. I love this too because like understanding the situation and understanding the challenge to the situation, doesn't that just open you up to ask questions about the situation more productively? So actually, you could maybe use that as like if somebody comes into you, Tom Benjamin talks about how like, garbage in, garbage out, like having a good question, and how sometimes people will come to you to read the tarot and they will not have a question. It's like they're testing you or, and that's if somebody's coming to you for a reading. But sometimes, I don't know about y'all, but I pull out my cards and I want to talk, but I don't know what to ask, and then I'll just draw some cards and like that's fun, but you're not getting much out of it, and a lot of times you're like, wow, I don't know that meant anything, and that's no fun. For me, the whole fun of tarot is the synchronicity, right? And if I'm not asking something or something's not answering something, the synchronicity is gone. It's just sort of me looking at some lovely pictures, which I also enjoy, but it's just not the power of tarot. So anyway, I think this is really interesting because if you can access what's happening and then what's challenging it, sort of what's going on, then maybe you can ask a question about that, and that might, I just revealed this to myself. I learned something today. Maybe I will do that when I don't quite have a question. So that is 3 spreads. It's my version of 3 spreads. Okay, what was next? 2 tarot accoutrements, tarot paraphernalia. So I wanted to talk about, I don't really have a ton of tarot paraphernalia. This is my reading space. It's just a cork mat. It's my desk. I have some cutesy like things, but that I love, but I don't really have spread cloths or anything like that. I do have, like this bag. This is my take with me tarot and my everyday carry. Yeah, so that has a bag. I think bags are really important if you're going to carry something, or they have to be in a really good box, but like your box is going to get beat up. So anyway, this deck did not come with a box. It was a make playing cards deck. We have probably seen it. It is the Tarot des Hauts Arts. So it's a Marseille deck, kind of a messy, cool, colorful Marseille deck. I really like it, and I love the pinks in it. And so I found on Amazon, I know, but it is what it is. This pack of, just a pack of 2 sort of tarot deck pouches, which are very, very thin, but hey, they work and they fit a standard size tarot beautifully. So if you have a deck that's coming from someplace like Make Playing Cards and you don't have a tin or something to put it in, I actually really like these kind of cheapy, it's sort of a suede-esque, but this is not suede. I think, no, it's more felt. What is this? It's felt. It's very thin felt. I think. But anyway, so just a cheapy little tarot bag, and like I would throw this in my bag now. I could take it with me if I wanted to, and I didn't have a box for this, and they come in a few colors, and they're like $9 for a pack of 2, which, I mean, it's good price considering what everything on Etsy costs, and I just don't need something that elaborate or something that's going to take that much time. Now, for a custom bag, a custom-sized bag, I'd do this all day. I love this bag. It is like lined and thick and pillowy. And my Stella's Tarot, which I spent so much time modding and I love so much, deserves this. Deserves this sweet bag that cost me, a little bit of money. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is something silly. But these are little clothespins with magnets on the back of them, and I've got a bunch of like metal around my desk, and so I actually like use these to clip So this is from the Voyager Tarot. This is the Surfer Man of Cups card. I drew this and I put a little clothespin on it, and I pin it up to one of the metal things at my desk, and I can look at it. So I really like these as little card clips. If you have something metal that you can, something magnetic that you can stick to, these are cute. These are on Amazon, so little magnetic clothespins for like a refrigerator kind of situation, but they're very gentle, and so I trust them on my cards. Some magnets are too strong, and I think they dent cards. So that was 2 accoutrements, little tarot things that I have. And then I think the last thing that we're supposed to talk about is like a tarot tip, right? 1 tarot tip. And I think my tarot tip, from everything that you can see here, my tarot tip would be follow, you know, your bliss in tarot. This is a super diverse group of decks. I love every single one of them. I also am following, my taste has changed over time. You know, for a while I was not interested in Marseille, got interested in Marseille. I was not interested in collage, and now I love collage decks. Some collage decks, not all, you know, it's just what it is. I did not think I would be interested in sort of this naive art style. Love it, very cool. And I love the take on the symbols. So I think, like, you know, start somewhere with tarot and then just like go off and figure out what works for you. You know, like even this, which I don't do spreads generally. Now I'm like, I need to revisit this. Maybe I should do a spread. You know, you'll just kind of like find your space that you really enjoy with tarot, and keep going for it. And it'll just get, I mean, I just think this is a never-ending hobby that I really enjoy. So anyway, there's so many places to go with this. And it's so, tarot is so related to so many other things that I find fascinating. And so it just opens up new things for me all the time in my investigations of it. So yeah, my tip, follow your bliss, as Campbell would say. Follow your bliss. And that's actually why my channel is named Antonia's Bliss. So there you go. All right. Well, this was fun. Thanks, guys.